Alright, check. Check, 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 1. Check, check, 1, 2. Alright, let's go. Come on. Have I got a surprise for you? G'day, rat bags. Alright. Quick, audio checkity check check. Oh yes, look, there we go. I'm just looking at my info back, but alright, so hi, how are ya? It's been a while, hasn't it? Perhaps you've noticed things have changed around here. This is my temporary setup. I'm still at the same house. I'm just inside the actual house now, whereas usually I'm out in the shed where I usually live, but we've cleared the house of all the people and I've packed up most of the stuff, and so I've contracted most things down here into the sewing room, which is the master bedroom of the house, and yeah, so that I can, as I'm packing boxes and stuff, so that I can move them out into the shed so they can just be one kind of straight line down the driveway when I move out. Goodness me, it's been on for young and old. But anyway, here we are, and I only meant to take about 3 days off. But the best laid plans of men and mice and all that, the doings of other people, and kind of just working really hard and a lot of exhaustion by about 6:30, 7 o'clock every night. So yeah, I'm sorry. It took me a while. It's taken me a while, both to kind of have the energy, and it's taken me a few days to get to set this all up and make sure it all works. And oh look, and even as I speak, it's not working right now. I've been saving these all bloody night, and now they're not working. Fair. Oh well, we're gonna have to. Anyway, I've got one trick. Oh, no, it doesn't work. It works. There you go. That's my trick. That's my trick for the day. And I've got one more trick for you as well, if I can find the thing. Yeah. Come on, little buddy. There we go. At least something works. Okay, so you know what we're doing. It's a new book. A little close up. This is the 40th anniversary edition. So this book was published first in 1974. I'm pretty excited to get into this one. I'm a little bit like, ooh, trepidatious, I guess is the word. I don't know. Because, yeah, I remember this can get pretty heavy going. But anyway, let's kick off. I don't know how long we'll go for tonight, because it really did take me a long time to psych up and get my shit together this evening and put a look to. I mean, I look fucking haggard underneath all this bullshit. I really do. So yeah, it's taken me a while to get my shit together this evening, and so let's see what kind of a frickin' hash I make of all of this. So, giveaway video, if not being uploaded tomorrow, then I'll be definitely filming it tomorrow, and hopefully uploading it. If not tomorrow, then it will be on Friday. Alright, so let's get going with this. Robert Pirsig, ZEN and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Let's read the back. Because it has, it's the 40th year thing, so it'll be a different blurb than the original. I think I read one of the original my dad's copy was the first copy I ever read. One of the most important and influential books written in the past half-century, Robert M. Pirsig's ZEN and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, is a powerful, moving and penetrating examination of how we live, and a breathtaking meditation on how to live better. Here is the book that transformed a generation. An unforgettable narration of a summer motorcycle trip across America's Northwest, undertaken by a father and his young son. A story of love and fear, of growth, discovery, and acceptance, that becomes a profound, personal, and philosophical odyssey into life's fundamental questions. This uniquely exhilarating modern classic is both touching and transcendent, resonant with the myriad confusions of existence and the small existential triumphs that propel us forward. Right. Have I whet your whistle sufficiently to be interested? We're doing it. Here we go. A little about the author. Robert M. Pirsig was born in 1928 in Minnesota. He holds degrees in chemistry, philosophy, and journalism. Goodness me. A very well-educated man. And also studied Oriental philosophy at Banaras Hindu University in India. Wow, that would have been quite an experience. He's also the author of Lila, a sequel to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And I briefly spoke about that one when I was talking about getting this book, because this one is, the subheading of this one is an inquiry into values, and Lila is, the subheading for that one is an inquiry into morals. And so I think that one will be really interesting as well, and I'd like to see if I can get a hold of that one. So the author's note. What follows is based on actual occurrences, and although much has been changed for rhetorical purposes, it must be regarded in its essence as fact. However, it should in no way be associated with that great body of factual information relating to orthodox Zen Buddhist practice. It's not very factual on motorcycles either. Is dedicated to his family. And here is the introduction. I suppose every rider dreams of the kind of success Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance has had in the past 40 years. Rave reviews, millions of copies sold in 23 languages, a description in the press as the most widely read philosophy book ever. Asterix, the London Telegraph and BBC Radio. In the early 70s, when it was being written, I had those dreams, of course, but I didn't let myself dwell on them or express them publicly for fear they'd be interpreted as megalomania and a regression to my former mental illness. Now the dreams are a reality, and I don't have to worry about that anymore. But rather than recount a success that everyone knows, it'd be of higher quality now to write about the book's failures and maybe help correct them. And there are two that stand out, a minor one and a major one. The minor one is that Phaedra doesn't mean wolf in Greek. That was a mistake that grew out of the actual experience at the University of Chicago in 1960 that appears in Part 4. The professor of philosophy had mentioned that Plato liked to use names for his characters that suggested the nature of their personality, and in the dialogue, Phaedrus, the likeness was made to a wolf. The professor, whose actual name I recall as either Lamb or Lamb, looked at me in such a way as to indicate he thought the title of wolf fit me. I was an outsider who seemed more interested in attacking what was being taught than learning from it. Ooh, that sounds personally familiar. My hyperactive mind seized upon this as my definitive relationship to the school. And this worked its way into the book. But the character whom Plato likened to a wolf was not Phaedrus, but Lycaeus, whose name is similar to the Greek Lycos, and that does mean wolf. And as readers have pointed out to me many times, Phaedrus actually means brilliant or radiant. I was lucky. It could have easily meant something worse, much worse. Excuse me. And the second error is much more serious because it's obscured the fundamental meaning of the book. Many people have noticed that the ending somehow does not clear things up, that something's missing. And some have called it a Hollywood ending that undermines the artistic integrity of the book. And they're right. But this is not because a Hollywood ending was intended. It's because a much different ending was intended that was not sufficiently clear. In the intended ending, it's not the narrator who triumphs over a villainous Phaedrus. It's an honourable Phaedrus who triumphs over the narrator that's been maligning him all the time. And this is now made clearer in this edition by using a sans serif type for Phaedrus's voice. And to expand on this, let me go back to a creative writing seminar held on winter afternoons in the early 1950s at the University of Minnesota. The teacher was Alan Tate, a distinguished poet and literary critic. Our subject for many sessions was Henry James's The Turn of the Screw, in which a governess tries to shield her two protégés from a ghostly presence, but in the end fails, and they're all killed. I was completely convinced that this was just a straightforward ghost story, but Tate said no, Henry James is up to more than that. The governess is not the heroine of this story. She is the villainess. It's not the ghost who kills the children, but the governess's hysterical belief that a ghost exists. I couldn't believe this at first, but I reread the story and I saw that Tate was right. You can interpret it either way. And how could I have missed it? Tate explained that James was able to achieve this magic through the use of the first-person narrator. Tate said that the first person is the most difficult form. It's the most difficult form because the writer is locked inside the head of the narrator and can't get out. He can't say, "Meanwhile, back at the ranch," as a transition to another subject, because he's imprisoned forever inside the narrator. But so is the reader. And that is the strength of the first-person narrative. The reader does not see that the governess is the villainess, because what the governess sees is all the reader ever sees. Now come back to Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance and note the similarities. There's a narrator whose mind you never leave. He refers to an evil ghost named Phaedrus, but the only way you know this ghost is evil is because the narrator tells you so. And during the story, Phaedrus appears in the narrator's dreams in such a way that you begin to see that not only is the narrator pursuing Phaedrus in order to destroy him, but Phaedrus is also pursuing the narrator for the same purpose. Who will win? There is a divided personality here. Two minds fighting for the same body, a condition that inspired the original meaning of schizophrenia. Schiz meaning part, schism, breaking apart. These two minds have different values as to what is important in life. The narrator is primarily a person dominated by social values. As he says at the beginning, I haven't really had a new idea in years. He never tells his story except in ways that are calculated to make you like him. His private thoughts he'll share with you, but not with John or Sylvia or Chris or the DeWeeses. And above all, he does not want to be isolated from you, the reader, or from society around him. He maintains a careful position within the normal boundaries of his surrounding society because he's seen what has happened to Phaedrus, who did not. He's learned his lesson. No more shock treatment for him. Only at one point does the narrator confess his secret, that he's a heretic who is congratulated by everyone for having saved his soul, but who knows secretly that all he's saved is his skin. There are only two others who know or sense this. Chris is one. He's going to pieces with confusion and grief as he looks for the father he remembers and loves and can't find anymore. And Phaedrus is the other. He knows completely what the narrator is up to and despises him for it. In Phaedrus's view, the narrator's a sellout, a coward. The coward who's abandoned truth for popularity and social acceptance by his psychiatrists, his family, his employers, and his social acquaintances. He sees that the narrator doesn't want to be honest anymore, just an accepted member of the community. Bowing and accommodating his way through the rest of his years. Phaedrus was dominated by intellectual values. He didn't give a damn who liked and didn't like him. He was single-mindedly pursuing a truth he felt was of staggering importance to the world. The world had no idea of what he was trying to do, and it was trying to kill him for his trouble. Now he'd been socially destroyed, silenced. But the residue of what he knew still lingered in the narrator's brain, and that was the source of the conflict. In the end, it's Chris's agony that releases Phaedrus. When Chris asks, "Were you really insane?" and the answer is no, Chris says, "I knew it." He also understands that for the first time on his whole trip, he's talking to his long-lost father again. The tension is gone. They've won it. The dissembling narrator has vanished. "It's going to get better now," Phaedrus says. "You can sort of tell these things." For more on the real Phaedrus, who's not a villainous ghost, but rather a mild-mannered hyper-intellectual, let me recommend Lila, a sequel that has been properly understood by very few. Or perhaps we could be some of those very few, if I can find a copy. Excuse me. Let me also recommend www.moq.org on the internet, a group that is among those few that understand it. Okay. What are we doing time-wise? 24. Alright, so let us have a little start of the book proper. Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Part 1. I don't believe there are any images in this book. No. Alright, part 1. Excuse me. can see by my watch, without taking my hand from the left grip of the cycle, that it's 8:30 in the morning. The wind, even at 60 miles an hour, is warm and humid. When it's this hot and muggy at 8:30, well, I'm wondering what it's going to be like in the afternoon. In the wind are pungent odours from the marshes by the road. We're in an area of the Central Plains filled with thousands of duck-hunting sloughs heading northwest from Minneapolis toward the Dakotas. The highway is an old concrete two-laner that hasn't had much traffic since a four-laner went in parallel to it several years ago. When we pass a marsh, the air suddenly becomes cooler, and then when we're past, it suddenly warms up again. I'm happy to be riding back into this country. It's a kind of nowhere, famous for nothing at all, and has an appeal because of just that. Tensions disappear along old roads like this. We bump along the beat-up concrete between the cattails and stretches of meadow, and then more cattails and marsh grass. And here and there is an open stretch of water, and if you look closely, you can see wild ducks at the edge of the cattails, and turtles. And there's a red-winged blackbird. I whack Chris's knee and point to it. "What?" he hollows. "Blackbird." He says something I don't hear. "What?" I hollow back. He grabs the back of my helmet and hollows up. "I've seen lots of those, Dad." "Oh," I hollow back, and then I nod. At age 11, you don't get very impressed with red-winged blackbirds. You have to get older for that. For me, this is all mixed with memories that he doesn't have. Cold mornings long ago, when the marsh grass had turned brown and cattails were waving in the northwest wind. The pungent smell then was from muck stirred up by the hip boots while we were getting in position for the sun to come up and the duck season to open. Or winters, when the sloughs were frozen over and dead, and I could walk across the ice and snow between the dead cattails and see nothing but grey skies and dead things and cold. The blackbirds were gone then, but now in July they're back, and everything is at its alivest, and every foot of those sloughs is humming and cricking and buzzing and chirping, a whole community of millions of living things living out their lives in a kind of benign continuum. You see things, vacationing on a motorcycle, in a way that's completely different from any other. In a car, you're always in a compartment. And because you're used to it, you don't realise that through that car window, everything you see is just more TV. You're a passive observer, and it's all moving by you boringly in a frame. On a cycle, and that frame's gone. You're completely in contact with it all. You're in the scene, not just watching it anymore. And as a bike rider, I can totally back that one up. You're not like car drivers. It's a completely different experience of moving through reality. So yeah, you're in the scene, not just watching it anymore, and the sense of presence is overwhelming. That concrete whizzing by 5 inches below your foot is a real thing. It's the same stuff you walk on. It's right there, so blurred you can't focus on it, yet you can put your foot down and touch it any time. And the whole thing, the whole experience is never removed from immediate consciousness. To be in the moment all the time. Chris and I are travelling to Montana with some friends riding up ahead, and maybe headed farther than that. Plans are deliberately indefinite, more to travel than to arrive anywhere. We're just vacationing. Secondary roads are preferred. Paved country roads are the best. State highways are next. Freeways are the worst. Totally. We want to make good time, but for us now, this is measured with emphasis on good rather than time. And when you make that shift in emphasis, well, the whole approach changes. Twisting hilly roads are long in terms of seconds, but they're much more enjoyable on a cycle where you bank into turns and you don't get swung from side to side in any old compartment. Roads with little traffic are more enjoyable as well as safer. Roads free of drive-ins and billboards are better. Roads where groves and meadows and orchards and lawns come almost to the shoulder, where kids wave at you when you ride by, when people look from their porches to see who it is, where when you stop to ask directions or information, the answer tends to be longer than you want rather than short, where people ask where you're from and how long you've been riding. It was some years ago that my wife and I and our friends first began to catch on to these roads. We took them once in a while for variety or for a shortcut to another main highway, and each time the scenery was grand and we left the road with a feeling of relaxation and enjoyment. We did this time after time before realizing what should have been obvious. These roads are truly different from the main ones. The whole pace of life and personality of the people who live along them are different. They're not going anywhere. They're not too busy to be courteous. The here-ness and now-ness of things is something that they know all about. It's the others, the ones who moved to the city years ago and their lost offspring who've all but forgotten it. The discovery was a real find. I wondered why it took us so long to catch on. And we saw it, and yet we didn't see it. Or rather, we were trained not to see it. Conned, perhaps, into thinking that the real action was metropolitan and this was all just boring hinterland. It was a puzzling thing. The truth knocks on the door and you say, "Go away, I'm looking for the truth." And so it goes away. Puzzling. Once we caught on, of course, nothing could keep us off those roads. Weekends, evenings, vacations. We've become real secondary road motorcycle buffs and found that there are things you learn as you go. We've learned how to spot the good ones on a map, for example. If the line wiggles, well, that's good. That means hills. If it appears to be the main route from a town to a city, well, that's bad. The best ones always kind of connect nowhere with nowhere and have an alternative that gets you there quicker. If you're going northeast from a large town, you never go straight out of town for any long distance. You go out, and then you start jogging north, and then east, and then north again, and soon, well, you're on a secondary route that only the local people use. The main skill is to keep from getting lost. And since the roads are used only by local people who know them by sight, nobody complains if the junctions aren't posted. And often they aren't. And when they are, it's actually a small sign hiding unobtrusively in the weeds, and that's about all. Country road sign makers seldom tell you twice. If you miss that sign in the weeds, that's your problem, not theirs. And moreover, we discover that the highway maps are often inaccurate about country roads. And from time to time, you find your country road takes you on to a 2-rutter and then a single rutter and then into a pasture and then just stops. Or it takes you into some farmer's backyard. So we navigate mostly by dead reckoning and deduction from the clues we find. I keep a compass in one pocket for overcast days when the sun doesn't show directions, and have the map mounted in a special carrier on top of the gas tank where I can keep track of miles from the last junction and know what to look for. I've got a clear plastic pouch and a sleeve built into the top flap of my tank bag that you can put your tablet or your phone or your map into, so that you can so it's right there in front of you and stuff. Excuse me. So with these tools and a lack of pressure to get somewhere, works out fine, and we just about have America kind of all to ourselves. On Labor Day and Memorial Day weekends, we travel for miles on these roads without seeing another vehicle, and then cross a federal highway and look at cars all strung bumper to bumper to the horizon, scowling faces inside, kids crying in the back seat. I keep wishing that there was some way to tell them something, but they scowl and appear to be in a hurry, and there isn't any way to tell them. I've seen these marshes 1,000 times, and yet each time they're new. It's wrong to call them benign. You could just as well call them cruel and senseless. They are all of those things, but the reality of them overwhelms halfway conceptions. There, a huge flock of red-winged blackbirds ascends from nests in the cattails, startled by our sound. I swat Chris's knee a second time, and then I remember he's seen them before. "What?" he hollers again. "Nothing." "Well, what?" "Just checking to see if you're still there," I holler. And nothing more said. Unless you're fond of hollering, you don't make great conversations on a running cycle. Instead, you spend your time being aware of things and meditating on them, on sights and sounds, on the mood of the weather and things remembered, on the machine and the countryside you're in, thinking about things at great leisure and length without being hurried and without feeling you're losing time. What I would like to do is use the time that's coming now to talk about some things that have come to mind. We're in such a hurry most of the time, we never get much chance to talk. The result is a kind of endless day-to-day shallowness, a monotony that leaves the person wondering years later where all the time went, and kind of sorry it's all gone. And now that we do have some time and know it, I'd like to use the time to talk in depth about things that seem important. What's in mind is a sort of chautauqua. That's the only name I can think of for it. Like the travelling tent show to chautauquas that used to move across America. This America, the one that we're now in. An old-time series of popular talks intended to edify and entertain, improve the mind, and bring culture and enlightenment to the ears and thoughts of the hearer. I never knew that term. Excuse me. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. I'm terribly sorry if I am. That I am. The chautauquas were pushed aside by faster-paced radios, movies and TV, and it seems to me the change was not entirely an improvement. Perhaps because of these changes, the stream of national consciousness moves faster now and is broader, but it does seem to run less deep. The old channels cannot contain it, and in its search for new ones, there seems to be a growing havoc and destruction along its banks. In this chautauqua, I'd like to not cut any new channels of consciousness, but simply dig deeper into the old ones. And the old ones that have become silted in with the debris of thoughts grown stale and platitudes too often repeated. What's new is an interesting and broadening eternal question, but one which, if pursued exclusively, results only in an endless parade of trivia and fashion, the silt of tomorrow. I'd like, instead, to be concerned with the question, what is best? A question which cuts deeply rather than broadly, a question whose answers tend to move the silt downstream. There are eras of human history in which the channels of thought have been too deeply cut and no change was possible and nothing new ever happened and best was just a matter of dogma. But that's not the situation now. Now, the stream of our common consciousness seems to be obliterating its own banks, losing its central direction and purpose, flooding the lowlands, disconnecting and isolating the highlands, and to no particular purpose other than the wasteful fulfillment of its own internal momentum. Some channel deepening seems called for. Up ahead, the other riders, John Sutherland and his wife, Sylvia, have pulled into a roadside picnic area. It's time to stretch. As I pull my machine beside them, Sylvia is taking her helmet off and shaking her hair loose, while John puts his BMW up on the stand. Nothing's said. We've been on so many trips together, we know from a glance how one another feels. Right now, we're just quiet and looking around. The picnic benches are abandoned at this hour of the morning. We've got the whole place to ourselves. John goes across the grass to a cast iron pump and starts pumping water to drink. Chris wanders down through some trees beyond a grassy knoll to a small stream. I'm just staring around. After a while, Sylvia sits down on the wooden picnic bench and straightens out her legs, lifting one at a time slowly without looking up. Long silences mean gloom for her, and I comment on it. She looks up and then looks down again. It was all those people in the cars coming the other way, she says. And the first one looked so sad, and then the next one looked exactly the same way, and then the next one, and the next one, and they were all the same. They were just commuting to work. She perceives well, but there was nothing unnatural about it. Well, you know, work, I repeat. Monday morning, half asleep. Who goes to work Monday with a grin? It's just that they looked so lost, she says. Like they were all dead, like a funeral procession. And then she puts both feet down and leaves them there. I see what she's saying, but logically it doesn't go anywhere. You work to live, and that's what they're doing. I was watching swamps, I say. After a while she looks up and says, well, what did you see? There's a whole flock of red-winged blackbirds. They rose up suddenly when we went by. Oh. I was happy to see him again. They tie things together, thoughts and such, you know. She thinks for a while, and then, with the trees behind her, a deep green, she smiles. She understands a peculiar language which has nothing to do with what you're saying. A daughter. Yes, she says. They're beautiful. Watch for them, I say. All right. John appears and checks the gear on the cycle. He adjusts some of the ropes and then opens the saddlebags and starts rummaging through. He sets some things on the ground. If you ever need any rope, don't hesitate, he says. God, I think I've got about 5 times what I need here. Not yet, I answer. Matches, he says, still rummaging. Sunburn lotion, combs, shoelaces. Shoelaces? What do we need shoelaces for? Let's not start that, Sylvia says. They look at each other, deadpan, and then both look over at me. Shoelaces can break any time, I say solemnly. They smile, but not at each other. Chris soon appears and it's time to go. And while he gets ready and climbs on, they pull out and Sylvia waves. We're on the highway again, and I watch them gain distance up ahead. And so we're going to call it there for the evening. And we'll pick it up tomorrow night again, where Pirsig's going to go back and talk about the Chautauqua a bit more again. What have we got? 45. So it's a little bit of a short one this evening, so sorry about that. But yeah, obviously with a week or however long it's been off, I've been running around and I've been stirring up so much dust from all the cleaning. Old voice, he's lost a bit of stamina. But yeah, it's just a nice piece to break at too, when they get back out on the road after the rest stop. And then he's going to start rapping he's going to start just kind of musing, I guess. And so, yes, we'll call it there. So, thanks. I don't know if anyone's joined us this evening, or if you're catching the replay. Thank you very much if that's what you're doing, making it to the end. I do usually stream. We do usually do the book reading 6 nights a week at the moment because it's daylight savings here in summer Australia. We're starting around about the 10 p.m. mark at the moment. You'll have to look that up to see what time that is in your region or state. Stay on. So it's 10 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, AEDT. And also, hopefully, if I haven't got it up by tomorrow, it will at least be filmed. But the upload for the giveaway for the book that we just finished, Jordan Peterson's new one, Beyond Order. We've got we do subscriber giveaways of the books when we finish them. And, so yeah, this one, the giveaway video will be up very soon. All you've got to do is be a subscriber. You must already be a subscriber, okay? It's really quite pointless subscribing to try and win a book and then just unsubscribing later. Don't bother. I already know who my subscribers are. I have a list of them all in order. My analytics tells me. So you've got a couple of days to subscribe to my channel if you're into the stuff that I do on it and you want to have a go at winning the book we just read. There are all of the live streams as we're reading through from start to finish are up on the channel. They're all thumbnailed in consecutive order. If you want to go and be read to. And otherwise you can join the giveaway for a chance to own this very copy, this well loved and read copy, the very same one that's in all the videos. And it will be posted to you at my expense. It is international, doesn't matter where you live in the world. I'm very happy to post it out to you. I'll put a few bucks aside for the next week or so and make sure that I've got the coin. And we'll give it a week or so, and then you'll have to just make a comment on the giveaway video. We'll do the random comment selector, choose the winner. I'll write a lovely, inspiring and heartfelt message in the front, wrap it up and post it away to you, the winner. Right, that is that. If you are a little bit like me, and you've got your moments where you struggle with a bit of nihilism and not really, sometimes you just thinking too much about game overing yourself, I would please like to beseech you to take a breath and just see how you feel. Look up some numbers in the description box of this video. There are 3 or 4 different options. You can call any of those numbers at any time before you go and do something that you can't take back. Alright? And I don't want to tell you what to do, because you're an autonomous being. You have the right to do what you like. But if I could please beseech you to consider just taking that one more breath, reaching for the phone, alright, and just deviating before you take yourself around somewhere where I don't want you to be, where the world doesn't want you to be, and where I really think if you hang on, you will one day know that you don't want to be there either. Right? I really need you to keep breathing. Yeah, because I need reasons to keep breathing all the time. Okay? The planet needs us to keep breathing. This world needs us to keep breathing, because we can't let the ratio get too far out of whack. Okay? People like us have to stick around. We have to. At the very least, just to inflict ourselves upon the fucking world for what time we've got left. Alright, but let's not, make it a heavy thing. Okay. It's, life's just life. I'm not going to blow wind up your ass and say, life gets better when you do this, when you give up this, No, that is just bullshit that fucking bullshitters tell you when they want you to fucking stop doing something or get over something. Life's just life. But what happens if you just hang in there, you get better at it. Yeah. Fuck life anyway. Like, who gives a shit whether it's good or bad? Because you can be better. Alright. I love you heaps, rat bags. We'll see you tomorrow. What do you think of it is temporary. We will be changing a little, when we move, it will all change again, and unfortunately we'll probably have to have another few days break. Excuse me. I just took advantage now because we had finished a book and we're about to start a new one, but stick with us with ZEN and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It is a really incredible book. It does go very deep, right? That's what he's talking about in terms of like the Chautauqua thing, into like scoring a deeper groove into our thinking. And I think we're up for it, I think we're good for it, So I'll see you tomorrow night or day or morning or afternoon or whatever time it is where you are. And yeah, join me then. I'll catch a replay. Drop a comment if you're a excuse me, if you're a it's pollen season, so it's just like everywhere. If you're a content creator or an artist or a photographer or a musician, or do anything cool and fun and creative, make cool furniture, build cool things, whatever, please drop your handle or whatever in the comments, and so that I can go and find your social media and follow you, because I really love to, I just like to know people who are in the world who are passionate about the things they're passionate about. That is something that blows my hair back. Alright, so if you enjoy doing something that you put it out publicly, let me know about it so I can go and fucking support you. Alright, love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and all that stuff. Okay? Yeah. I'm happy to be back. I've missed streaming. I've missed having my little setup. I've missed talking into the freaking little round dot thing, and you know, I don't know why. It's something that's been keeping me pretty steady for a while, and I have not. You just don't want to know the shit that I've been through in the last week or so. One day maybe I can talk about it, but I've just had to live through it. Alright, love yous, bye. Bye. Thank you, and good night. Thank you.